NASA pointing their telescopes at a mystery rock. It could be the first observable object from outside our solar system. And NASA's not quite sure what it is. Experts say it's less than a quarter mile. The strange behavior of this object doesn't match any typical orbit, making NASA think it's not local.
It could be an asteroid. Even NASA isn't sure what it is or where it came from. And so, with Mission Impossible, we call on National Geographic astronomy columnist Andrew Fazekas in Montreal this morning. Andrew, what is this object?
That is the $40 million question, Brad. Astronomers are pointing the biggest telescopes we have on the ground and in orbit, including the Hubble, all working towards trying to figure out what this 400-meter wide object that is careening through our inner solar system right now, really what it is. But we think all the signs are that it's either a comet or an asteroid. It is a solid object. And it's going so fast and in such a funny orbit that we think it's actually from interstellar space. It's an actual object that has traveled into our solar system. It's the first time humans are seeing an object from outside of the solar system traveling through our local neighborhood of planets. And it's a fleeting moment too, Brad, because it's traveling at amazing speeds of over 150,000 kilometers per hour. And we're only going to have a few days to really point our telescopes to it before it gets too far and too faint from Earth to be able to examine it any further. So they're racing to trying to identify it and figure out where it's going and where it came from. But the idea is it's from somewhere deep from the Milky Way galaxy, and it was drawn in by the gravity of our sun. And we're seeing it for the first time, probably, and for the last time as well in the next few days.
Okay, so I want you to just answer a question that probably is occurring to many people watching this right now, and I think you've alluded to it, but there is no danger to anyone on Earth from this object.
No danger whatsoever. We've got a great ringside seat to see it. The closest it came to us was 25 million kilometers away. That's 60 times farther away than our Earth's moon lies. So we had a safe distance. That happened 2 weeks ago, actually. And now it's just going above the plane of the solar system. It did a hairpin turn around the sun, and now it's going above all the planets, and we've got a great view from below looking at it as it's moving away back into the Milky Way galaxy.
Absolutely fascinating, and I love these graphics, too, showing it. So Andrew, most of these objects, you say this is an interstellar object. So in other words, this comes from outside our galaxy, right?
Well, it's coming from outside of our solar system.
Outside our solar system, right.
Within the Milky Way galaxy, which, of course, we're a part of. The sun is one of 100 billion other suns, but it was trapped by the gravity of the sun. It pulled it in from somewhere in deep interstellar space. It wandered a little too close to our sun, and it just captured it, and it just went very close, and it whipped around the sun, and now it's going back out into interstellar space out of the solar system. But before it does that, we want to try to identify it, because this is such a once-in-a-lifetime kind of thing. It's something that we theorized we would one day be able to see, but now it came to pass. So this is a really lucky time for astronomers.
Oh, lucky to have you here, Andrew Fazekas, because we're going to talk more about this and what scientists are learning by this relatively close pass to Earth by this object. Astronomy.
began. At the moment of the Big Bang, matter and antimatter were created in equal amounts. And based on recent measurements made at CERN Laboratory in Switzerland, it seems there is perfect symmetry between the two, which they say implies that our universe should not exist. What? Okay, here to talk about this perhaps disconcerting discovery is CBS News science and futurist contributor and theoretical physicist Michio Kaku. All right, Professor Kaku, so can you explain, first of all, what antimatter is and how is it different from the matter that we interact with every day?
Well, there's a Nobel Prize out there if you can figure out how this thing works. Antimatter is the mirror image of ordinary matter. It's extremely rare. If I had some in my hand, it looked like ordinary matter. It has the same chemical properties, except if I touch it, it would explode and destroy all of New York City, parts of Connecticut and New Jersey. Every Star Trek fan knows that this is the greatest energy source in the universe, matter-antimatter collision.
Okay, all right, so that's it. Well, what is it about this symmetry between matter and antimatter that, you know, leads CERN's physicists to this conclusion that we shouldn't exist, the universe shouldn't exist?
Well, at the instant of the Big Bang, there should have been equal quantities of matter and antimatter, which annihilated, driving the Big Bang. So, by rights, we shouldn't be here.
Right.
Because we have more matter than antimatter in our sector of the galaxy. We've looked for anti-galaxies. We've looked for anti-planets. We don't see any.
I don't even understand what that means, but okay, go ahead. Antimatter, anti-planets, because they would be made up of anti.
That's right. There should be anti-people, in fact. Anti-love, anti-CBS. But in fact, we see no evidence of that at all. So physicists say by rights we shouldn't exist. This means that at the instant of the Big Bang, there was a slight overabundance of matter over antimatter, and here we are as a consequence. Now, why? This is one of the greatest mysteries in all of physics. We are clueless to understand why. And like I said, if you want to win a Nobel Prize, figure this one out. Why was it there's a slight overabundance of matter over antimatter?
Yeah, all right. Well, tell us more about these experiments that CERN is doing to answer, or at least try to answer, these questions.
Well, they take an atom smasher and they take the energy out of it and put it into a bottle. It's called a magnetic bottle. You can actually trap anti-hydrogen, anti-electrons going around anti-protons. And when they measure the property of anti-hydrogen, it's exactly like ordinary hydrogen, except, of course, they would annihilate it if they touched each other. And that's so frustrating. You want to tear your hair out. They were looking for an asymmetry between matter and antimatter. They find none. And so that's the mystery. Why do we exist at all? By rights, we shouldn't be here. By rights, we should have been disintegrated at the instant of the Big Bang.
Well, I'm sure there are all kinds of theories out there, but what are physicists kind of focusing in on? Is there one theory, two theories that are kind of the main focus?
Well, the leading theory is something called string theory, which is what I do for a living. I'm one of the founders of the subject, in fact, years ago. But even string theory has a hard time because you have to sort of like put it in by hand. And we want the theory to naturally come out with this overabundance of matter over antimatter, which explains why we don't see anti-galaxies out there and anti-planets. But we have a hard time doing it. So right now, nobody has a convincing answer to this question. Why should we be here?
Wow. Okay. Well, I won't ask you to give us a 30-second rundown on string theory because I think it'll probably take longer than that. Maybe we'll have you back sometime. But Dr. Michio Kaku, thank you so much.
British and Spanish astronomers say that there may be at least 2 more planets hiding behind Pluto, which still doesn't count as a planet, by the way. Ripped off. Mike Massimino is a former NASA astronaut and professor of engineering at Columbia University. How are you, sir? What's it matter?
Well, if this would be a major discovery, if we can find that if there actually are more planets in our solar system, it would be a major find. Would it affect our daily life? Maybe not so much, but certainly we have to rewrite a few of the astronomy books.
I got you. So I always thought there were 9 planets.
That's what we learned. That's what we learned when we were kids.
I'm wrong. Now, what's the deal?
When we were kids, it was 9. Then there was a controversy a few years ago. They said no, there's only 8, and now there may be some more out there. So it just goes to show you we keep finding more and more stuff.
And Pluto's not living up. Now listen. How do they go about determining there's another planet out there? How do we find that? How do we locate it?
This is what I find to be most interesting. You know, as an astronaut, I got to work on Hubble. But I was like the repairman. I don't look through the telescope, but we talk to these astronomers how they use a device like the Hubble Space Telescope or how these guys made their discovery. They look for evidence. They find things and they don't know why they're seeing this evidence. So what they found, there's a bunch of rocks out beyond Pluto, way out there in our solar system, that were being disturbed more or less by gravity. Their pattern was not as it normally would be, naturally occur if they were just those objects floating around. So they see something else pulling on them and disturbing the orbit, and they don't know what that is. So the theory that they have is that there's more planets, really big ones, way far away.
So it's based on,
the solar system.
it's possible they have not even seen these planets.
Yeah, I don't think they have. In fact, there's no. The only evidence that I'm aware of that I've read about here is that it's a gravitational attraction, and the only way, one of the ways that they would explain this is to say that there's other planets out there. If you know, with the Hubble Space Telescope, dark energy and dark matter, and this is at the Intrepid Museum now. They have the Hubble 25 exhibit, and you see some of the stuff. They talk about things like gravitational lensing. They can, which means they can look on a lens. There's a picture of this in the museum where you can see the bending of light. And so the light can actually bend, and they can measure the bending of light. And they would say, well, what matter is around here that's causing that bend in the light? And then he said, well, there's got to be so much matter, but they can only recognize a portion of the matter. And that's why they come up with dark matter. So there's more stuff out there than we can account for. We can measure gravitation. Or the possibility
that it's emitting light, right? Or it's sending light back, and that's how you would locate it.
Right. So
it would reflect the light of the sun.
Yeah, but they don't know what this stuff is. So they call it dark matter, for example. In this case, what their hunch is that it's a planet that's out there that's causing this gravitational
Are you going to be okay with this?
Yeah, I think this is cool. I think what it shows you is, you think you know something and you don't. We really don't know what's going on. Dark matter, dark energy, we only can recognize like 10% of the energy in the universe, 10% of them. We don't know what the heck is going on out there. Now, very exciting stuff.
And quickly, when you were growing up, you memorized the planets in a very peculiar way. And what was that again?
It was my very educated mother just served us 9 pizza pies.
She did.
And each one of those words, that gives you, starting with Mercury, Venus, or right there. And we're going to have to update that. We got to come up with names.